Welcome to Santa Barbara, also known as the American Riviera. It's one of the most charming beach towns in Southern California, with perfect weather, ocean views for days, and that gorgeous Spanish-influenced architecture everywhere you look. Today, I'll take you on a walking tour from the Old Mission, down State Street, and all the way to the ocean and the funk zone. We'll make plenty of stops along the way, including some great food and drink spots. And I'll even go to court for you. Why exactly? Well, stay tuned and enjoy the tour. Hey everyone, my name is Chris and I've worked in the travel industry for over 13 years, and now I create these travel videos and digital travel guides to help you plan your adventures. And with that, let's go ahead and start the tour. I started the day at the Old Mission Santa Barbara, often called the Queen of the Missions. It opens at 9:30 a.m. and I got there right when gates opened, which was perfect. Note that on Sundays it opens at 12:30 p.m. due to Mass. The nice thing about going in the morning is that there were hardly any crowds yet, so it was quiet and peaceful. You could really take in the beauty and serenity of the place without distractions. There was some renovation going on during my visit, but you could still see everything and it really didn't take away from the experience at all. The mission was founded back in 1786, making it the 10th of the 21 California missions established by the Spanish Franciscans. It's one of the best preserved and definitely one of the most photogenic, with its twin bell towers, pink-tinted facade, and beautiful gardens. I decided to do the self-guided tour, which costs $17, and I definitely recommend it. They give you a map, and along the way you can scan QR codes for short audio clips that explain the history and different parts of the mission. The first area I entered was the Sacred Garden, which is just beautiful, super calm, surrounded by flowers, palm trees, and a fountain. Then I stepped into the church, which was absolutely stunning. The architecture and detail are incredible, and it's still an active parish today. Next, I walked out to the cemetery, which dates back to the 1780s. There's this massive tree right in the center, apparently one of the oldest on the grounds. I did a loop around the cemetery and even checked out the mausoleum, where some of Santa Barbara's early residents are buried. If you look up, you can also see the backside of one of the mission's clock towers, a cool angle some people miss. After that, I headed into the museum, which has artifacts and exhibits about the mission's history, including native Chumash items and early mission tools. It's small but interesting, and it really helps you understand how this whole complex came to be. The Chumash peoples had lived in this area for thousands of years before the Spanish arrived, with thriving coastal villages and a rich culture tied closely to nature. When the Franciscans founded the mission in 1786, it became both a religious center and a working community. During this time, the Chumash faced devastating losses due to European diseases that the Spanish brought into the country, to which the Chumash had no immunity. In addition, the Spanish introduced large livestock herds that competed with the Chumash for resources and damaged their traditional food sources. Many Chumash moved into the missions for survival, and between 1772 and 1817, the missions forced Chumash from their villages into the new mission system. The missions were essentially labor camps where the Chumash were forced to build and maintain the missions without much compensation, and the Franciscans worked to suppress Chumash traditions while also trying to convert them to Christianity. The whipping of a Chumash at Mission Santa Ynez in nearby Solvang, which I will visit in the next video, sparked the 1824 Chumash revolt, which quickly spread to other missions, including Santa Barbara. After several months of revolting, the Chumash involved were granted pardons after negotiating with Spanish officials. After exiting through the gift shop, I walked across the parking lot to check out the picnic area, which is next to a monarch way station, a small garden designed to create a habitat for monarch butterflies. No butterflies during my visit, but the flowers smelled amazing. Right next to that is the Olive Garden Path and the Stations of the Cross, a peaceful trail that winds through olive trees. Along the path, there are 14 stone reliefs, each representing one of the events of Christ's final day. It's quiet and reflective, even if you're not religious, and adds to the mission's overall atmosphere of calm. From there, I walked over to the old lavanderia, or washing basin, just outside the main complex. This was originally built in the early 1800s and served as the communal wash area for the mission residents. The stone troughs are still there with carved channels where water once flowed in from the aqueduct. It's a pretty fascinating piece of early California engineering. After exploring the grounds, I crossed over to Mission Historical Park, which is a lovely open space right across the street. It's perfect for a little break, plus it gives you one of the best views of the mission itself. Within the park there is also this nice rose garden which is really well maintained. All in all, I spent about an hour here at the mission and it was totally worth it. Certainly a must visit when you're here in Santa Barbara. Oh, and if you have extra time, the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History is just about a 10-minute walk from here. Now let's head over to our next stop, the Keck Park Memorial Garden. After about a 15-minute walk through a quiet residential area, I arrived at the Keck Park Memorial Garden. And I have to say, I was really impressed. It's beautifully landscaped, full of all kinds of trees and plants, and the best part, it's totally free to visit. The land used to be the site of a hotel that burned down in the 1960s. In 1975, it was purchased by philanthropist Keck Park, who donated it to the city of Santa Barbara to be turned into a public garden. After she passed away a few years later, it was officially named in her memory. Today it's one of the most peaceful spots in town, about 4 acres filled with over 70 different species of plants and trees from around the world. There are benches scattered around and tons of shade, so it's a great place to sit down and just enjoy nature for a bit. As you continue through the park, you'll get to this lovely little pond. You'll usually see animals like ducks and even small turtles hanging out here. It's a really calm and photogenic spot, perfect to take a breather or snap a few pictures. Right next to this is Alameda Park, which is one of Santa Barbara's oldest parks. It's much bigger and has a great playground, picnic tables, and open lawns. So if you're visiting with kids, stop here and the kiddos can play around for a bit. As you continue towards the southern end of Alameda Park, you'll spot the beautiful Our Lady of Sorrows Roman Catholic Church. The church you see today was built in the late 1920s after the original was destroyed on the morning of June 29, 1925, when a 6.2 earthquake shook Santa Barbara and destroyed the church. It's designed in the Spanish colonial revival style with a tall bell tower and gorgeous stained glass windows. It's a striking landmark and fits perfectly with Santa Barbara's architectural vibe. From there, I continued a few blocks and officially arrived on State Street, the main artery of downtown Santa Barbara. It stretches all the way from the foothills to the ocean and Stearns Wharf, connecting most of the city's major landmarks, restaurants, and shops along the way. It's the perfect street for exploring on foot, and one of the first major landmarks I came across was the Arlington Theater. The massive marquee out front is a very cool sight to see, and it's definitely one of the most unique theaters in California. It was built in 1931 on the site of the former Arlington Hotel, which, like the old church, was destroyed in the 1925 earthquake. The theater was designed in the Spanish colonial revival style, and while I couldn't go inside, from what I read, it feels like you've stepped into an old Spanish village. The ceiling is painted to look like a night sky, complete with twinkling stars, and the walls are lined with faux balconies and lanterns. It's a total experience, not just a regular theater. Today, the Arlington serves as both a cinema and a live performance venue, hosting concerts, comedy shows, and major events like the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. If you cross Victoria Street from the Arlington Theater, you'll find Victoria Court, a charming little courtyard tucked just off State Street with several great restaurant options. One of the highlights here is Bouchon, which serves California French cuisine made with local, organic, farm-fresh ingredients. It's a fine dining spot with a cozy, romantic vibe. Just keep in mind they're only open for dinner. There's also a small pho restaurant here if you're craving something quick and comforting. For Italian food lovers, Olio Bottega is a fantastic breakfast and lunch spot that doubles as a retail space where you can pick up imported olive oils and other Italian specialties. It's part of the Olio family of restaurants, which also includes Olio e Limone, the elegant sit-down restaurant next door offering authentic Italian dishes for lunch and dinner. And Olio Pizzeria, a more casual concept serving wood-fired pizzas and wines, perfect for a laid-back evening meal. Another great option in the same area is Scarlet Begonia, known for its creative California American breakfast and lunch menu. They use local ingredients and have a beautiful little patio that's ideal for brunch or a sunny coffee break. Just a few steps away, you'll see the new Vic Theater, home to the Ensemble Theater Company. It's Santa Barbara's premier professional theater group, hosting everything from modern plays to reimagined classics. The building itself is a blend of old and new, a beautifully restored 1920s theater that now has a sleek contemporary interior. Directly across the street is the Santa Barbara Public Market, which is definitely worth a stop. It's a stylish food hall featuring a variety of vendors from fresh pasta and poke bowls to wine, coffee, and desserts. I decided to grab lunch here at Corazon Cocina, a local favorite for modern Mexican street food. I ordered one birria taco and one cauliflower taco, and both were absolutely delicious. Super flavorful, and they even threw in some complimentary chips and salsa. Definitely recommend this spot if you're looking for a casual and satisfying lunch in downtown Santa Barbara. After finishing up at the public market, it was time to head back onto State Street and continue the walk toward one of Santa Barbara's most iconic landmarks, the Santa Barbara County Courthouse. As I continued down State Street, I passed two more Santa Barbara landmarks before reaching the courthouse. First up was the Granada Theater. You can't miss it with its tall tower and elegant 1920s facade. It originally opened in 1924 as a grand movie palace designed by A.B. Rosenthal in the Spanish colonial revival style that defines so much of Santa Barbara's architecture. Over the decades, it went through multiple renovations and even a few rough patches, but today it's the city's premier performing arts venue, home to the Santa Barbara Symphony, the Opera, and State Street Ballet. The interior is gorgeous with classic old Hollywood charm blended with modern acoustics. If you ever visit in the evening, it's worth checking their calendar to catch a show. Just a few steps further is the Santa Barbara Museum of Art. It opened in 1941 in what used to be the city's old post office and now houses an impressive collection of over 27,000 works, from ancient Greek and Roman artifacts to Monet, Van Gogh, and contemporary pieces. It's a fairly small museum, but very well curated and easy to explore in an hour or two. Even if you don't go inside, the building's exterior with its grand columns and banners adds a nice cultural touch to your walk. Right next to the museum is the Santa Barbara Public Library, which dates back to 1917. It's housed in a Spanish colonial revival building that perfectly fits the rest of downtown style, complete with arched windows and that massive, beautifully carved wooden door at the entrance. It's worth a quick stop even if you're not going inside, just to admire the craftsmanship and the quiet charm of the building. From there, it was just a few more steps until I reached one of Santa Barbara's absolute highlights, the Santa Barbara County Courthouse. I know it sounds weird, but yeah, you should definitely go to court whenever you're in Santa Barbara. This place is incredible. Built in 1929 after the major 1925 earthquake destroyed the previous courthouse, it's considered one of the finest examples of Spanish colonial revival architecture in the United States. The entire complex feels like a work of art, with hand-painted ceilings, wrought iron chandeliers, colorful tiles, and intricate carvings around every corner. I started by admiring the main facade with its grand arched entryway, clock tower, and red-tiled roof. Then I walked through the entrance passageway, which opens up into the sunken gardens, a beautifully landscaped courtyard filled with palm trees and surrounded by the courthouse's white stucco walls. It's a peaceful spot and a favorite backdrop for weddings. And sure enough, there was one happening while I was there. Even so, I still had full access to all the public areas. Inside, one of the main highlights is the mural room, which is just breathtaking. The walls are covered in massive murals depicting Santa Barbara's early history, from the Chumash peoples to the arrival of the Spanish and the building of the missions. The level of detail is amazing, and it's no surprise this room is often used for civil wedding ceremonies. After that, I made my way up the clock tower. Once you're up there, you can enjoy panoramic views of the city, the ocean, and the surrounding mountains. It's one of the best viewpoints in Santa Barbara, completely free and open to the public. If you're enjoying the tour so far, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to hit that like button on the video. That helps me out a lot, and as a thank you, I put together a digital guide for this tour which you can get for free. Check the description for details. As I explored more of the corridors, I noticed how much attention to detail went into every part of this building, from the hand-painted tiles and wooden doors to small touches like an old phone booth tucked in the hallway and a beautiful rotunda staircase that spirals gracefully upward. It's one of those places that you could easily spend an hour photographing. Every angle, every archway, and every piece of ironwork feels special. So yeah, this is absolutely a must visit when you're in Santa Barbara, not just for its architecture and history, but because it truly captures the spirit of the city. Elegant, relaxed, and surrounded by beauty. Alright, not far from the courthouse back on State Street, you'll find LOKUM, a Turkish cafe that's such a hidden gem. The vibe here is really cool and colorful. They specialize in Turkish delights that come in all sorts of flavors and beautifully packaged boxes, plus baklava, Turkish coffee, and tea. Definitely a unique stop, not something you find in every SoCal beach town. After grabbing something sweet at LOKUM, I continued my walk down State Street, and since it was a Saturday, I got lucky. The Santa Barbara Farmers Market was in full swing. This market has been a local favorite since 1982, and it's one of the best in Southern California. It runs every Saturday morning from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. right along State Street and features tons of fresh produce from nearby farms, local honey, flowers, baked goods, and more. After walking through the market, I turned left onto Canon Perdido Street, which led me to another historic landmark, El Presidio de Santa Barbara State Historic Park. This site marks the birthplace of the city. It's the last of 4 military fortresses built by the Spanish in California, founded back in 1782 to protect the nearby mission and the settlers. A few of the original adobe buildings still stand today, including the beautiful chapel of El Presidio. There are several other structures that have been carefully reconstructed to give visitors a real sense of what this military outpost looked like in the late 1700s. While you can see some of the buildings from the outside, I highly recommend going on the self-guided tour. It's only $5 and totally worth it in my opinion. You get to see much more than just the facades. There are different buildings spread out across the entire block, including old living quarters, kitchens, and storerooms. Walking through, you'll see adobe walls, wooden beams, and period furnishings, along with displays about early settlers and Chumash life. This place really connects the dots between Santa Barbara's Spanish, Mexican, and early American eras. One highlight is El Cuartel, the family residence of the soldier assigned to guard the western gate. It is believed to be the oldest surviving residence in Santa Barbara. What's also fascinating is that this very area later became home to Santa Barbara's first Chinatown in the late 1800s. Immigrants settled here after the Presidio fell out of use, opening small shops and laundries. While very little remains today, you can still find interpretive signs around the site that tell the story. A reminder of how layered this city's history really is. From El Presidio, I continued walking through the charming El Paseo restaurants and shops area, which connects back towards State Street. This spot is pretty cool, a maze of Spanish-style walkways lined with restaurants, little shops, and a few local wineries. The architecture here really captures that classic Santa Barbara feel. It's a great place to grab a glass of wine or just wander around and take photos. Once I got back out onto State Street, directly across you'll find Paseo Nuevo, a beautiful open-air mall that blends shopping with Santa Barbara's signature Spanish Revival design. It's got a mix of big-name stores, local boutiques, and even a few cozy cafes tucked into the courtyards. Right across the street from the mall is McConnell's Fine Ice Creams, which is kind of a Santa Barbara institution. They've been around since 1949, originally founded here in town, and now have a few locations across California. McConnell's is known for making their ice cream completely from scratch using local ingredients, no pre-made bases or artificial stuff. I heard their Eureka Lemon and Marionberries flavor is one of the fan favorites. Just past McConnell's, I stumbled upon a really fun spot called Antique Alley, a massive shop filled with vintage finds, retro memorabilia, records, and antiques of all kinds. It's worth a quick browse if you love digging through old treasures or just want to experience something a little different on State Street. As I continued along State Street, I reached the walkway that goes underneath the 101 freeway, and honestly, I was surprised by how nice it looked. The beautifully tiled columns really brighten it up. Even the underpasses in Santa Barbara have style. Once I got to the other side, I walked up the stairs toward the Moreton Bay Fig Tree, which is just a short detour from State Street, maybe a couple minutes of walking. The walk itself isn't the nicest, but the tree is definitely something to see. It's absolutely massive, one of the largest fig trees in the United States, planted all the way back in 1876 from a seed brought over from Australia. The branches spread out over 170 feet, creating this incredible canopy of shade. From here, the Santa Barbara train station is just a few steps away. It's super convenient if you're traveling to Santa Barbara by train. You basically arrive right in the middle of everything. The station itself has that classic Spanish Revival style, matching the city's overall vibe perfectly. As I continued down State Street, I crossed over Mission Creek, which created such a nice, peaceful scene right before reaching the ocean. This is where State Street officially meets Stearns Wharf, marked by the Dolphin Fountain, a popular photo spot and symbol of Santa Barbara. Right around here, I also noticed some golf carts offering free rides along State Street, running Thursday through Sunday from 12 to 7 p.m. Definitely a fun and easy transportation option if you don't feel like walking the entire stretch. Then I walked out onto the wooden pier, Stearns Wharf, which is actually the oldest working wharf in California. It was completed in 1872 by a lumberman named John Peck Stearns, who wanted to create a way for ships to unload cargo directly into the growing city. It survived multiple fires and storms over the years and is still one of Santa Barbara's top attractions today. If you drive here, parking on the wharf is free for the first 90 minutes. Pretty great considering the view. Looking to the right, you'll see West Beach, and on the left, East Beach. In the distance, you can spot the Santa Barbara Harbor, and there are always kayakers and sailboats out on the water. It's also a great place to take a sailing lesson since several sailing schools operate nearby. Along the pier, you'll find a mix of restaurants and shops, including Moby Dick Restaurant and Oyster Bar, the Santa Barbara Shellfish Company, and several small stores selling local goods and souvenirs. One of the main attractions is the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History Sea Center, a small regional aquarium where you can get hands-on with marine life from the Santa Barbara Channel. My personal highlight here was the Deep Sea Tasting Room, an awesome spot to sip some wine with epic ocean views. I definitely recommend stopping in. I'm also sure it's a great spot during sunset. After that, I left the wharf and made my way back toward the waterfront, turning right to head to the next stop, the Funk Zone. As I continued along the waterfront, I passed the Blue Water Grill, a seafood restaurant with a nice patio overlooking Mission Creek, the beach, and Stearns Wharf, a great spot if you're in the mood for oceanfront dining. From there, I entered the Funk Zone, one of Santa Barbara's trendiest and most creative neighborhoods. This area used to be a cluster of old warehouses, fishing equipment storage, and industrial buildings. Not exactly the kind of place you'd expect to sip fine wine, but over the past decade, it's transformed into a vibrant arts and tasting district filled with murals, art galleries, boutique shops, surfboard shapers, and over 20 wineries and breweries. The name Funk Zone actually comes from its funky, offbeat character, and you definitely feel that as you wander through. One of the first places I came across was SB Biergarten, a lively spot with a great atmosphere, perfect for enjoying a local craft beer. As I explored further, I loved seeing all the colorful art and creative storefronts that make this area so unique. To wrap up my walking tour, I stopped at Corks and Crowns, and I absolutely love this place. It's a cozy little wine tasting spot with live music every day, and the atmosphere is just incredible. The staff was super friendly, and the crowd was a fun mix of locals and visitors. Even though I was there solo, I didn't feel alone at all. People were chatting, laughing, and just enjoying the vibe together. It honestly felt like hanging out in someone's living room, sipping great wine while listening to live tunes. That was the perfect way to end my day here in Santa Barbara. That wraps up my walking tour of Santa Barbara. If you want, you can get a free digital guide which is linked down in the description below. Also, consider subscribing to my channel because soon I will be releasing the next walking tour, which will be in the charming Danish village Solvang, which is located just about a 45-minute drive from Santa Barbara. And with that, I say thank you and Dankeschön!